Amigos y amigas, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I am Wiesel from Food Mex Nation. You're in luck. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football. There's a lot of other football going on right now. Everybody big hype, but this is the only football you need to know on Monday nights. Technically there's no more NFL, but we'll just go ahead and get started. Lots and lots to talk about today in the Mexican Soccer Show. We'll be talking all about the big move to Real Betis by our youngster, Mr. Joven Promesa. Everybody's been talking about it over the weekend, Mr. Diego Lainez. And we're going to jump right in with our first question with one word. Using one word, Mr. Tom Marshall, not two, not three. Stick to the rules. One word. How would you describe Diego Lainez's move to Real Betis? And welcome to the show.
I'd say promising.
That was mine. I gotta change it.
Eh?
Okay. We might have to tell each other all the words. That was mine too.
No, I think it's a good move. It's not going to be easy. I think that anybody that thinks that in 2 weeks' time he's going to be starting games in La Liga, I think is mistaken. I think we saw last weekend, Real Betis against Real Madrid. All right, Madrid might have won that game, but you got an idea of just how good Betis are. I mean, they took the game to Madrid. For me, they absolutely, obviously because of Setien's style of play, they are susceptible to the counter-attack. We saw that happen, the counter-attack and a set piece. But yeah, I mean, it's a very, very good level of football. I think Setien is gonna have to work with Lainez to drill him in the style of play and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, potentially, it's a top six club in arguably the best league in the world. So, I mean, this is now. I mean, I think I wrote in my piece. It's like this is what you dream of. This is the challenge and the potential to be great. You know what I mean? He's in the right place now. He can do it. I mean, he's got. It's up to him now, basically.
I'm gonna go next, Cesar. Before you take mine.
Oh no!
I'm gonna go with hopeful.
Oh, that was.
Crossing that one off. Actually, I have a different one. I have a different one.
Okay, good. Okay, Cesar, go ahead. You can go next.
No.
I mean, I went with hopeful just because as soon as you got that news and how all the news kind of happened, you kind of start looking at it. I think it's a great move, and just kind of Tom said, here we go. It's a great step, not too crazy. I mean, as much as I would want him in a giant team like a Chicharito to Manchester United, just want to take those baby steps on. This is a big step, but at the same time, have that, get yourself known as a starter. I mean, as in the bench, and then start making an impact, and we're starting seeing this. The end of the season, and hopefully solidify on the team, get that experience instead of just thrown into the superstar, which I think it's a great way to come in. So I'm going to go with hopeful, and that in the next year we'd be seeing him see the talent of this kid and kind of progress. So Cesar, right. Now go ahead and take your word.
I'll go with more of a fan perspective here, and I'll say that it's thrilling because when you look past someone like, I think it's a good idea, because I think when you look past someone like a Lozano, you look past those guys who are still in their 20s that are currently key figures for the Mexican national team. You look at the future of the Mexican national team, and I think if you were to ask most fans, like, who is the future of El Tri, when you're looking at someone who's under the age of 20, then I think most would point to Lainez. So I think that there's something thrilling about it too, because you see so often players like these. Yeah, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of potential. Maybe things don't work out. Maybe they never make the move to Europe, which is always a little disappointing. Maybe they cost a little too much. And I think there's always something in the back of my mind wondering if teams would be willing to pay a good amount of money for Lainez. But so for me, as a Mexican national team fan, as a fan of Mexican soccer, it's thrilling because he actually was able to make that move to Europe, and he's actually able to make the move to I mean, like Tom said, this is a top 6, top 7 team. Mm-hmm. I think they're at 7th place, but they're way up there. But I think it's gonna be really exciting to see how he plays. I mean, I think Tom mentioned his piece too. I think we're gonna have to be patient too. He's not gonna immediately go into the starting 11. He's not gonna be going playing week in, week out just yet. I think we're gonna have to be patient with him. But I think from more so of a fan perspective, just someone who likes seeing Mexicans going abroad, I'm gonna go with thrilling for me.
Nice, thrilling, hopeful. What was yours, Tom? Who's our
Promising.
I picked? Promising, that's right, yeah. Promising. And Adriana, who joined our show there in Mexico City. Adriana, we're just going to get you right in. One word to describe Diego Lainez's move to Real Betis.
You guys already said some that are quite similar. I'd say something like optimistic or, yeah. I'd just say optimistic. Optimistic.
Yeah, we saw the good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah.
There is synonyms for...
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I think
it's just that I think we all want to be realistic to some point. We know he's not going to be in the starting lineup. Like, I mean, there were people asking on Twitter if he was going to play against Real Madrid. Are you guys crazy? I mean, I was like, do you follow football at all?
Please, Amy, please quote that on our Mexican soccer show.
I might have sent out one of those tweets.
Go ahead.
It was just so crazy. I was like,
Do
he
you
hasn't even done his medical exams. He hasn't even practiced with the team. He doesn't even know his like teammates' names yet. But oh yeah, he's going to start against Real Madrid. Yeah, for sure.
Quick note to self: don't mess with Adriana.
There's a cloud. Adriana will just pull you right under, make sure it's raining all the way down. Just let you know.
You know, it's. I'm gonna have to blame all this. Like, it's the fuel shortage. Everyone in Mexico City is like, I don't know, their claws are up, and everyone's like defensive and like ready to attack or something. So I guess that's why. But yeah, I mean, are you guys kidding me? I was like looking at that and I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be starting. Yeah, I can just see him like going against like Sergio Ramos. Yeah, like right away. Yeah, but yeah, like here.
Everybody.
Yeah, we'll have a Miazga part 2. So yeah, I think we're all. I mean, being realistic, I think it's good that he changed America because he, like, listening to what some reporters were saying, that he was just trying, like, what we say here in Mexico is that he stood on the brick and he started getting dizzy. He was like weighing over his heels. He just thought he was in the starting lineup for America. He was already like too good a player, so maybe. So the fact that he has to go to Real Betis and actually win a spot again, I think for his maturity, for his performance, I think will be really good. I really hope he does well. I really hope it doesn't. We don't see like a situation where he just doesn't fit in. I don't know, something like what happened to Raúl Jiménez at Atlético de Madrid. But I really hope that he starts like maturing to another level, and we'll start shortly seeing him like gain minutes, and then eventually, yeah, be in the starting lineup. We would love that, but not this month. I mean, just give him some time, and hopefully, yeah, he'll be the start of some other players going to Europe as well.
From a couple of people on the chat. Saying if Victor Peña, if he stays humble, he will make it. The Peruvian Waltz TV, I thought Guardado was brilliant against Real Madrid. Oh, Firmino player, sorry. That has nothing to do with with Diego. Sorry. JP Santoya said,
now, so.
If I had to describe Diego's move, it would have to be in Chucky Lozano's words. I don't know. That right.
Chucky, check your phone, man. Come on.
Omar 07 said Lainez will be great. So I think everybody's excited. I'll ask you guys this: when obviously the Ajax move was there, and people were saying that was pretty much true, and then now we're looking at Real Betis. Do you guys think it's a better move than the Ajax move?
I think that's a tough question because I think when you look at someone like an Ajax, you think of a club that does very well with youth development, the development of players, and I think that there's a part of me that would have been fascinating to see what they could have developed out of Lainez, what they could have gotten out of him, because he's still a very young player, he's still in his teens, so I would have been excited to see what he could have done there with Ajax. But I mean, you could also understand at the same time, I mean, playing in the Eredivisie, I mean, I think that's a good step up for a lot of players who are accustomed to Liga MX style of play. I mean, some of those teams at the very bottom of the Eredivisie table perhaps wouldn't even do that well in Liga MX, but obviously you have an opportunity to potentially play in the Champions League or Europa League if you're at the very top of the Eredivisie table. But I think it's a little bit more exciting to see him in La Liga. Obviously, it's a better competition. And also, I mean, if we're talking about him adapting to a new culture, him adapting to a new style of play, the huge benefit that he's going to have with Betis, he's going to have Guardado there. And I think that's something that shouldn't be overlooked. I mean, I'm sure we've already seen the videos of Guardado just like showing him around like basically like the headquarters of the team and the training center. Like, I think it was like something on Univision where like I thought maybe it would just be like Guardado like basically introducing him to a couple players, but he was like taking them all over the place. So I think that's a huge benefit. So maybe it would have been exciting to see how Ajax could have developed him, but at the same time, I understand the move to Betis and that working there with Guardado.
Well, yeah, just the language and the culture. I mean, I think Sevilla, is more kind of closer to kind of Latin America than even other cities in Spain as well. I mean, the weather's unbelievable. I think from that aspect, it's as good as you're going to get in terms of a move to Europe. It's as close to what you're going to find, over here than it is that you're going to get in Europe. So yeah, and also by the time he's 21 years old, he should have a Spanish passport, which is massive. I think the path to the first team at Ajax. I don't think he would have walked into Ajax either, because I think they're looking really strong up front. But I think for the Ajax project, I think it would have been next season. You know what I mean? Because Ajax, you expect them to sell a couple of players. I know there's a Brazilian kid there doing really well, I think, attracting interest. So I think that's where we would have fit in with Ajax. Whereas with Real Betis, there's less kind of space, and time. I mean, this is a club that have spent big money, that want to get into Europe. They want to make moves in Europe as well. And I don't think Lainez is going to have that kind of settling in period that he would have done at Ajax, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out on loan, which I don't think is a bad thing. But I would say on the positive side that the fact they've spent so much money on him suggests that they do value him really highly.
Can you tell us a little about the actual loan in that, Tom?
What do you mean? No, like if he's not nearing the first team at Betis, I think like they did with kind of Vela back in the day.
Oh.
I think I can see Betis loaning him out to a second division team or back to Veracruz. You know what I mean? I can see that happening, because it's a massive step up from what he was experiencing at America. I mean, where he's not been a starter for that long, to play in that kind of game that we saw on Saturday against Real Madrid. I mean, it's a big gap. But a couple of other quick points. I think that you got to praise him and his family for absolutely demanding this move, because from all the reports, it was like he was so desperate to go, and he was adamant that it's now, because we saw Piojo Herrera kind of say, no, maybe go in the summer, and Lainez said, no, I've won the title as a starter with America, like, what else can I do? And I think over the long term, the fact even if he doesn't play that many minutes for Betis, I think the fact is he's going to get a Spanish passport, the fact he's going to be training at a club with the quality of Betis day in, day out, I think he's going to benefit him. And also Club America. I mean, not a club you traditionally associate with exporting players, but America didn't have to sell Lainez either. Obviously they've accepted quite a big offer for him, but it's you got to praise the club for what they've done in kind of producing youth. I mean, Diego Reyes, you got Edson Alvarez scoring 2 goals in the final. Raul Jimenez, who's the main guy now, or he seems like that way, the main forward Mexico has in Europe, and it's you got to say America are doing a lot of things right. American Pachuca these days are really producing players, and perhaps the traditional teams that you expect, like the Atlases and the Pumas and even the Chivas, they're not producing the quality of player that maybe they once did.
Francisco Velasco from here on YouTube. If you're listening to us, get to the chat there. Lots of people on right now talking. Francisco Velasco says Lobos Buap gets Lainez on loan to join his brother Mauro. You heard it here first. Adriana, to you, we've always been talking to you, and you and the ladies talked about actually just you and Amy talk about this right when it happened, Real Betis, but. I know a lot of people were saying just kind of what Cesar said about what Eredivisie does towards youngsters and developing them well. What fears you might have going into Real Betis? I know there's no starting, but at what point should we start getting a little worried if he's not getting any minutes? And a question from the chat: what do you think about when we were around the first time we see him playing?
First of all, I think we have to be really patient. I mean, I was looking at the squad, and the younger players are still 4 years older than him. And this is a squad that many people have said that analyze the game a bit more. They say that Real Betis could probably get the best out of Lainez because they're used to playing the long ball. And Lainez is all the opposite. He likes to keep the control of the ball. He likes going forward. He likes to keep the ball close to his feet. So it's a lot of differences with the current squad. But still, I think this is an 18-year-old player who just barely had the starting lineup for America at the end of the season. I mean, he hasn't even done that once. He won his first championship with America as well in first division. He had never won a single championship with the youth teams either. So I think I'll probably give him the rest of the season. I mean, I do want to see him adding minutes. I probably would see him in the starting lineup maybe for the cup games. But if we don't see him in the starting lineup just the entire rest of the season, I think it's nothing to worry about. I think they have to realize that, yeah, he's still a player that's in development. And it's something that I'm pretty sure that was what was most attractive for Ajax, was knowing that this player is still growing. And I think Real Betis also has to take on that challenge of still making sure that he keeps on growing and just keeps that process. So if we don't see him in the starting lineup like for the rest of the season, I really wouldn't worry as much. I would probably worry going into next season once he's known the squad, once the coach gets to know him, once they actually know what and then I would start worrying. If he has all that time and still isn't starting, that's when I would start worrying. And what was the second question?
I forgot what the second question was. But since 4:30 in the morning. No, it was when should we start worrying and when can we see him? You know, what is something that you can start worrying about? But I mean, you kind of answered and you're looking at it.
Yeah.
And to you guys, I mean, that's where the whole patience comes in, right? Be there, training there with the team, with the facilities, and then obviously learning a ton. Guardado being right there. This is that perfect opportunity to learn. It's kind of like, and I don't want to use this because a lot of people in NFL are talking about it, but it's like getting a rookie quarterback and a very, very experienced quarterback. 3 years, I mean, they take to come out and start playing in that game. Not giving that scenario, but that's the type of expectation we should have. Where
and it's
maybe
halfway
in the
through
summer,
the season.
Yeah, it's halfway through the season.
Yeah, well, he might need a full preseason, even though some people might be like, oh, well, Betis are still in the Copa del Rey, they're still in the Europa League, so maybe he could actually make his debut there. I mean, there's no guarantee that he's going to be making his debut anytime soon, so I think we just have to be patient with him. And I mean, just like any other player in any other league, there's an adjustment period, and for someone as young as Lainez, maybe it's going to take not only just an adjustment period, but also a full preseason to really start to get some momentum over there in Spain.
Tom, to you really quick. This question coming also from the chat. It's actually very interesting. Should Lainez skip the Gold Cup and focus on full preseason with Betis? Is that something that, or do you are we as patient to not have Lainez over the summer with our Gold Cup tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've got the Under-20s World Cup. So for me, I think he should play that because I don't think he's going to be playing, much between now and the end of the season. I think he can play the Under-20s World Cup is from, May 23rd, I think. And so, he can play that, go and rest, come back for the Betis preseason. I mean, that's how I see kind of Lainez this summer. Obviously, there's going to be pressure for Tata Martino.
I think, right? It's right there.
Yeah, it's in Poland. Yeah, so but I think there's going to be pressure for Tata Martino's going to be under some pressure to bring him in. I'm sure he wants him in there as well because he was one of the players that he mentioned. It was him and Alvarado as the two young bright talents that Mexico have. So, but yeah, I agree with you, Wiso. I think I wouldn't care if he's not in the Gold Cup squad. I think even at full international level, he still needs time to develop. Just quickly on the adaptation period and all that. I mean, yeah, I think we're all right in saying that, but he's got to maintain him really focused. I mean, to be honest, everything I've seen from Lainez suggests that this is a kid who is absolutely at ease with where he's at and where he's going. He doesn't seem to get flustered. He sat there before the Liga MX final, 30 minutes, speaking to the press inside the Azteca. When the Miazga thing happened and, he basically made fun of him. I think I wrote in my piece, I said, after that game, for me, Lainez had three options. I mean, how do you deal with that situation as such a young kid like that? And the first one was, I think most young players would have taken, which is after the game, you get your head down, you put on your headphones, your Beats or whatever, and you run past
AirPods this year. AirPods. Everyone's got AirPods.
Sorry. Then you run past the press and you get onto the bus and you go home. I think the second one, which I think equally attractive, would be to come out and speak to the press and say, "Oh, this guy is making fun of me. He's got no right. What's he thinking? Blah blah blah." And I think a lot of players would have done that as well. With the anger that must have been inside him. Lainez took a third option, which was and I honestly don't think this was guided by anyone inside the Mexican Federation because, I don't think PR really exists within the Federation. Well, it hasn't done traditionally. And he decided to go up there, go and speak to every journalist that wanted to speak to him. Yeah, and he said, you know what, this happens, it's happened. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Some players are taller than others. What are you going to do about it? And I thought the level of maturity from an 18-year-old to go out and face the press, knowing you're going out live on Mexican TV, I thought that was pretty phenomenal. Like I said, I think before, he reminds me of Rafa Marquez in the way, I don't know, he just got this way of looking at people, and he's just dead. I don't know, he's just like, he's like he belongs in that situation. He's not flustered at all. Whereas sometimes you speak to other players and they're so jittery and, they don't look comfortable with where they are. Lainez, for me, just looked completely like he knows he's going to be a star. I mean, we saw it in Russia, with the World Cup announcement. He stands there and he gives a speech. It's like, this is a kid who just seems very mature. So I back him to succeed. I think it's going to take time, but I think talent-wise as well, this kid is really, really talented. There's a reason Betis have paid all that money. There's a reason we've all been talking about him so long. He's an exciting player. There's not many, I remember the first time I seen him when he was like, I think he was playing for America under-17s against Chivas under-17s here in Guadalajara. I didn't know anything about him. And I was checking out a couple of the Chivas guys that, I'd heard about, people were talking about. And it's like, I was watching, who is it? Because he got the ball and he's got that left foot and he dribbles with his left foot. And honestly, I'm not exaggerating, 4 or 5 Chivas players would be attracted to him like a magnet. You know what I mean? And obviously he was doing too much. He was trying to run past everybody. But it was like, this kid is just, he's kind of mesmerizing. He grabs your attention. And so, yeah, I mean, like we're going back to that first word, I'd say it's really, really exciting to see what he can do over there because this is a kid who he's special. I mean, not just talent, he's an exciting talent. He does things that are exciting. He gets on the ball and he can take a player on. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that at the end of the day, for us, we might be journalists or whatever, but we're fans as well. And Lainez is the kind of player that you'd want to pay to go and see.
I just got a nostalgia moment with like Tom talking about Lainez that way from like Santiago Nunez and goal. All of a sudden I'm like, Tom speaking about the player. I think the coach did it in the scene about he just took on a bunch of players at the park. Anyway, sorry.
I've never seen any of the goal movies.
Just watch the first one. Everyone after that.
I feel like I'm missing out on so much. Because like people make references to the goal movie.
You got to watch at least the first ones. The other ones just kind of think it up, but we'll see what.
I guess I was about to say something actually serious. Not the goal movie. I forgot. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So check out at the end of the month. I think, not saying it's going to happen, but maybe for some odd reason, Lainez impresses in training during the next couple weeks. I think Betis can register 3 new players for the Europa League round of 32.
So there you go.
I think by February 1st they have to do that. Not saying it's going to happen. It's probably unlikely that's going to happen, but I don't know, maybe when that becomes public and they release that squad list for the Europa League, I mean, check it out. Maybe there's a small chance that we can see Lainez there. Maybe that says a lot about his current standing with the team. But yeah, once again, I think we should be patient, but maybe we'll be seeing them in that team registration, which I think is February 1st, if I remember correctly.
Excellent point, because I think that'll give us, if it's not, well, I mean, if it is, it's kind of everyone going to get hyped about it. Great for him, but if it isn't, it's not the deal. But at least we'll see where the development's in, that they have some type of plan for the kid to play.
But I'm not even looking at this season, to be honest. I don't think it'd even be right to make a comment. And the only situation that I could see that is right to be positive or negative if he does suddenly gets minutes, which I think would be a massive positive. But I'm taking this season as almost like he's not going to play. Like I think it's going to be that bedding in period, and it's going to be next season where we see, okay, where does this kid now fit in with Guardado? I mean, I think if I could parent Mexico player to be a kind of, to take a young player under his wing, it would be Guardado.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just, for me, he's an example of a player who has absolutely maximized every bit of talent that he has, and he's one of the captains of a team a top team in Spain. I mean, these things don't come easily. he's a captain of the Mexican national team. He's a player, but he's not like a kind of boring guy either. He's like, he's a good guy. He's popular. He jokes around. He's like, he's such a great person for Lainez to learn from. For me,
it's not Salcido, because I feel like Salcido's always boring around the camera. Interesting. You mentioned Guardado. Do you guys know, and maybe you guys in Mexico, especially you, Tom, there in Guadalajara, or Adriana, how much influence maybe Guardado had on this? Or, I always think that you start seeing Mexican players move across to another place where there's no Mexican player. And I always feel like Guardado was like, hey, there's a 17-year-old kid that's pretty good. You might try to take a look at him if you have the time at these. Just want to let you know.
He plays for America, but oh well, a little pass.
I think Guardado's influence has mainly been, obviously he would have had a word with Serra. It would have been a conversation, but I think if there was the real influence Guardado may have had on this transfer, I think would have been people at Betis seeing the impact of having a popular Mexican player at the club. And seeing how that's benefited him, off the field as well. And I think that you look at Lainez and already the kind of support he's got, and the way we're now going to watch his every game, every move, and a lot of Mexicans are both in Mexico and the States. And I think for a club like Betis, it's kind of like if it's an extra 1 or 2 million, and I think that's the deciding factor. Although I don't agree with people saying that that's his value because he's Mexican, and I completely don't agree with that. But I do think it's an extra little bit of incentive for a club like Betis, and I think they've witnessed that with Guardado.
Cesar, have you already started following Real Betis? And did you follow Ajax at all?
I started following for like a long time. I was like following Ajax, like getting like updates about like every single little thing that they were doing on Twitter. And then like by I don't know, like a couple days back, I was just like, or like a couple days before the Lainez news, I was like, what am I doing with my life, man? But anywho.
then you unfollowed.
Yeah, it's like, I got a text. Wait, no, it's just Ajax posting another photo at the Florida Cup.
I just feel like the Spanish league, and this is my real perspective of Mexicans abroad. More of the Mexicans, as I saw last year, I think now have Mexican playing in La Liga. They're comfortable with the language, and like you said, I think it's a big deal. Not that they can't do it anywhere else, and obviously, but especially with the level of play. And when you look at Real Betis, when you're talking about it in your head, you don't feel like that team is that good. And maybe because I don't follow as much La Liga as I used to, but it's never been that team. More of a Valencia, Villarreal. Those are the teams that are mid-level teams. When you're looking at it, I mean, it's I think about a week and a half ago, I was surprised in the standings of where they were.
Yeah, no, I think they've been getting more respect under Setien, the manager. Like, I've watched only a few games this season, mainly to check on Guardado, but I've been pretty impressed by them. I mean, you just see, just the possession they have, the build-up that they have from the back. That's an enormous amount of passes. I mean, technically, they're a lot of fun to watch, and I think a lot of Mexico fans who saw that match against Real Madrid saw what they're capable of. Because honestly, I think they're better than Real Madrid in that match. So I think they have been gaining more respect, and this is a team that's currently in the Europa League too. So I think it's getting there. It's getting there.
And they've been spending money. And they're spending money. I mean, Lo Celso is a quality player who's, I'm sure he's going to be around the Argentina squad for some time to come. And Lainez with Mexico. And, I don't know. The way they play is unbelievable as well. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what Cesar said there, the way they play out the back, I mean, it gets into trouble now and then, but, I mean, they're amazing. And, it's the same. Naib has watched them regularly, and he raves about them as well.
Good to see them. All right. Well, excellent news again. Diego Lainez now will be definitely following up. I love all the little videos Real Betis kind of puts up there, that Guardado introduction. We kind of saw, where did we see that? Did we see that with Vela doing it to Reyes a while back, right? Was to the Real Sociedad players that they were doing a while back. So it's always a lot of fun.
Here's where we watch NBA games. Here's where I tweet about NBA games.
All right. We'll switch over to another topic. Lots of people now. The whole chat is going and talking about goal 1, 2, and 3. Spoilers up ahead. Cesar, don't read the chat. Because Joel,
I read all the comments. I can't watch the movies now.
They're already talking about it. Goal 3 is horrible. So there went the Mexican Soccer Show chat. It's all about goal 1, 2, and 3 now, and we have like that. Let's switch gears really quick and talk about the Mexican national team, the ladies edition. And good thing we have Adriana, who I'm sure on the Our Football podcast, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, definitely give it a listen. All of you guys, it comes out usually Thursdays or Friday. Any of the news on the later half of the week, these girls and these ladies are already up on top of it. They're already talking about the Diego Lainez news. Kari, Amy, and also Adriana. But interesting enough, there was some drama. Yes, I mean, I think we were all up in arms. I think Adriana going back in the WhatsApp messages about a new call-up that came out for the ladies. And all of a sudden, there's a change in staff with the national team. I just think about things that wouldn't fly on the men's side, right? No one telling anybody, and here goes, the national team coach all of a sudden changing in a picture of somebody else. What is happening with the drama, and is everything going to be okay? What should we be looking at, Adriana?
I hope everything's going to be okay. I can't imagine what they were thinking, just sending out the press release with the players that were called up for a concentration camp at the end of the month. They have to play the Cyprus Cup in February and March. So they called up some players, and they somehow thought that people wouldn't realize that they switched coaches from, like, suddenly in the press release, you would have, you have, like, the players' pictures. You know how you have, like, 23 pictures, and then you have the picture of the coach. I think they were saying something like, maybe if we just put Christopher Cuellar in there, they just might not realize it. They'll be like, looking at the players and looking who makes it through and who we're calling up, and no. So yeah, they apparently sent this press release saying, these are the players we're calling up at the end of the month. I mean, they started today. And we're just going to put in Christopher Cuellar, who was in charge of the U20 team. And then way down in the bottom, the last sentence of the press release says, and by the way, thank you, Roberto Medina, for your time and dedication. We wish you well in the future. And that was it. So everyone, obviously, we were thinking, okay, wait a minute. First of all, we have to think about how unprofessional it is for you guys to send out a press release and change coaches in the senior national team without telling anybody. Second of all, this is Leonardo Cuellar's son, so we know there's some conflicts involved. I mean, when Leonardo Cuellar was still in charge, that's when Charlyn Corral decided not to come to any call-ups because she was tired of seeing the federation not do anything to improve their performance, their level, giving them more games, just taking the entire league, the entire women's division seriously. And obviously, you have the two players in Iceland who had problems with Leonardo Cuellar because of their relationship. So then, apparently, as far as I've known, I've spoken with some players and some coaches off the record, and they're saying that not even Christopher Cuellar knew this was going to happen last week. What? It was just like all of a sudden they just told him, so apparently what they said was, they just told him like on Wednesday, I think it was, or Tuesday, hey, this is happening. We need you to be in charge. And they're not even sure if it's permanent, which I hope it's not, because I think if they just keep this process, I think it's just more of the same. I really don't see that there can be an improvement with Christopher, just as the same as what happened with Leonardo. I think they've done well for the program, but I think they've reached their limit. So hopefully they'll look elsewhere. Because if Christopher takes charge of the senior team, then who takes charge of the U20? We would all think that it would be Monica Vergara, who was just in charge of the U17 team. So in case that happens, we're not entirely sure because obviously they haven't sent a press release about that either.
I mean,
so that's,
No, I was gonna say I had a quick question for you. I mean, although it was, I agree, it was extremely unprofessional, and just the insight you gave us right there, just like Christopher Cuellar just didn't really know until last week. I mean, that's kind of crazy. But at the same time, are we really that surprised though? Because Medina couldn't take him to the World Cup, so is it really that big of a surprise?
No, it's not a surprise that he's left because that was the natural thing that was going to happen. I mean. It was embarrassing the way Mexico went out of qualifying for the World Cup. I mean, it was an absolute disaster with everything that's gone on with the league. So I think it was natural that he left, but why didn't he announce it? I mean, it should have been announced right after the tournament. Exactly. I mean, it's one of those where, I mean, these are 4-year cycles built into one thing, which is the World Cup. And I mean, when that doesn't happen, then for me, the manager naturally has to go because they look pretty poor in that tournament. But yeah, for me, it's a complete lack of respect. I mean, this would never happen in the men's game. So why is it happening in the women's game? Yeah. You know, how on earth is it possible that you don't even announce a new coach? You don't even to let people know what's going on. And I can imagine that the players absolutely, distraught by this kind of thing going on, because at the end of the day, I mean, all they want is they want a plan, they want a vision, they want kind of somebody to lay down. This is what's going to happen with this national team. We're at point A now. We're not at the World Cup, but you know what? We're going to kind of clean sweep. We're gonna put a plan in place so that in 4 years' time this does not happen again, and we're actually going to the World Cup. Maybe even as one of the challengers. But the opposite has happened, and it does surprise me a little bit, Cesar. What does surprise me is that now there's a person in charge at the federation of communication, of image, somebody who's supposed to be kind of in charge of this PR side. And for me, for like Adriana explained at the start, to put out a press release, like that, and we change your national team coach. Like I said, it shows a lack of respect for the women's national team. From
what talking to people that are close, especially to some of the players, or especially in the camp, it comes down to what this person tells me, just basically, verbatim said, I honestly believe that they were like, crap, here comes a Cyprus. We can't send the same person. And we've been worried about the whole Tata Martino for a while, that they just kind of put everything to the side. And seriously, that's what it came down to. We're like, oh, we need to name somebody. Cuellar right now is an interim, and we're searching right now. Let's put him on there. And
that's fine. But it's like Adriana said, there, you're relating back to the old. Cuellar dad. Right, okay, Monica Vergara. Put her in charge.
Yeah. I haven't spoken with anyone that doesn't say the opposite. Everyone's just saying, why not put Monica Vergara? She's proven herself. She's proven with the youngest of the teams, because the U15 team is with Maribel Dominguez, but we know that's not a professional division. Not even the league has many U15 players. You've already proven yourself. Just give her a chance. You have an entire year to make up for not going to the World Cup. You could actually have an entire project leaning towards the next World Cup. Why not take advantage of that time and start building up a project? You have more time now than ever. You're not going to the Pan American Games. You're not going to the World Cup. The next tournament you have coming up are the Olympic qualifiers. You have tons of time to actually make a project that's serious, that kind of breaks all the other things that they've done so poorly before. So I really hope that they take that into account. I hope they realize that it's a step backward. Everything that Monica Vergara actually achieved with the U17 World Cup seems it was going to be thrown to the trash if you put Christopher Cuellar in charge.
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes down to. I think they couldn't name her right away, and I think if that's where the direction they're going, they just put somebody right there so they can go to Cyprus and do that, which is still kind of like, it's your federation, the Mexican national team. Like, get crap together and do that. Yeah, you knew that was coming. You knew it was coming too.
Yeah, but communicate it. Like the women's game. I've seen stories saying there's been a revolution, that that all these good things are happening, and then at the same time you don't even have the respect for the national team and the players more than anybody.
Yeah.
To even have a look into the coach or even announce what's going on. Because I asked at the last press conference of the year. I said, is there going to be? Are you thinking about having like a department specific for the women's side? Because it's very different. The way you scout on the women's side is vastly different from on the men's side. You need people who are specialists in that in the women's game. And that person in charge can then hire a coach with knowledge of the women's game, who can go out there and say, right, in the States, who is the go outside, go into Europe, go to Spain, go wherever you need to find somebody who's a really good coach of women's soccer. And bring him into Mexico, and instead of they're spending so much money on Tata Martino, go and spend big money. I think Mexico got a massive opportunity, especially with not qualifying for the World Cup. They've got time. They've not, like Adriana said, they've not got big tournaments coming up. You've got a massive opportunity now. Spend that little bit of money that you make from playing these games in the States. And I know they do send they send them to Cyprus Cup, and it does cost a lot of money to do those things, but go and hire a top coach. But I think the project Mexico would have on the women's side is extremely attractive, because you've got this women's league now. You've got players that you can scout week in, week out on your doorstep. It's so much easier than it was before the league. You've got the college players in the States. That's a secure pipeline. It's got to be an attractive project. I mean, we talk on the men's side about taking the step up. Well, pretend the women's side is closer to that step up, even though it doesn't seem like it right now.
Then really quick to kind of end the segment. The first thing that came out, obviously, the coach, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit with Charlene Corral, all the drama that was there. I know you've spoken to her, to a few players. I mean, it came out that she didn't go to the camp because she was injured, but then she played over the weekend. Was this kind of a Charlene Corral just going, I'm going to stay away from this decision, under the table, just waiting to see who they name?
Well, what we've heard officially, or extra officially, I'd say, is that it was more Levante saying she just had an injury. She was just sick, I think. Let's just keep her here, despite the fact that they had already announced her coming to the camp during the week. And then it was just like, oh, no, she's not coming. And Kenty Robles, on the other hand, who wasn't announced by Atletico de Madrid as one of the players that was called to the national team, did make it to the squad. So I'm hoping it was that, but I wouldn't be surprised if this were Charlene saying, hey, you guys, I already went through this. I already fought against Juan Cuellar, knowing that he reached the limit as far as what he can do for the Mexican women's national team. And you're taking a step back. I wouldn't be surprised, because I think that's the power that she has, being a national player, a national team player, seeing as what she's done in Levante. I think she has that voice to actually request a change again if it were necessary. So hopefully, on one side, I hope she does that. On the other hand, I just hope she's doing okay, and she's like, okay, let me just come to Mexico and talk with these people and see if Christopher Cuellar is really going to take over just for a little bit, while they find someone permanent, or if he's really going to take charge entirely. So she just might be waiting for that as well, because I don't know. I hope what Tom says is true. I mean, I hope they look for another coach, they look for another project. But if they're not, then I would totally support Charlene and saying, I'm not going to come back as long as you guys are taking this seriously again.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look within the federation right now, who is there with real knowledge of the women's game? You know what I mean? That's the thing that concerns me. And I think someone like Charlene Corral as well looks at that. Kenty Robles, Charlene Corral, they're over there in Spain. They're seeing how things are run over there. And I think when they look back to Mexico, I think they're absolutely desperate for to see progress. Change. And it must be so frustrating. And the problem is, if they come out into the press and they start saying these things, then I don't know. I mean, they don't get good press, basically. You know what I mean? People don't like it.
But still, I think they're probably the most interested in wanting a change, because of their ages, they could still aspire to another World Cup. So if that's why I think they could do it. I'm not sure if they will, or maybe they're just really expecting the federation to come up and say, hey, Cuellar is going to take over permanently, or this is just a change while we find someone, because we were too busy looking for Martino. So I hope we find some clarity just to know where the entire federation is going with the women's divisions, because again, we don't even know what's going on with the U20 team, with the U17 team. And this is just like a step backward after everything that was done last year with the league and with the U17 team. We had the U20 World Cup as well. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, because they do have interest still in the federation and in the national team. But as you say, Tom, there's just lots of stuff in risk for their image as well.
Going to end with the FMF is going to FMF is what on our What's Up and our West. I mean, it's not surprising, Cesar, just like you said, but at the same time, you're like, are you kidding me? And the chat, especially that we were on, it was kind of like, especially with that's going on. But thank you, Adriana. Again, a quick plug for the Our Football podcast that comes out. Same, Adriana, Kari. I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about, and also everything that's happening, but not just women's football, all football around with Mexican soccer, from Liga MX to Mexicans abroad, also to the national team. So thank you so much, Adriana. Thanks, guys, for giving us that update. We're going to jump into Liga MX for this last segment of the show. Cesar, I'll go to you. What was the most surprising headline this weekend out of Liga MX?
I guess just Cruz Azul having their problems for me. I guess I knew it'd be a little difficult for them without Marcone there. I mean, he was at the starting 11. He's apparently heading. I don't know if is it confirmed already that he's going to Boca Juniors. Is it still rumor? Is it official? I don't know.
No, he left. Cruz Azul fans are crying.
Yeah, so yeah, then you definitely saw one of those fans crying in the stands. But I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch the game because I was in Tijuana watch the Xolos game. But I think that was what was most surprised to be. I mean, just I mean, obviously anything that Chivas do garners a lot of headlines, whether it be them losing, whether it be them winning, it always garners a lot of headlines. But to get a win like that against the Cruz Azul side that was a finalist last season is definitely a big deal. You look at that midfield for Cruz Azul. You look at maybe, I mean, once again, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, just kind of looked at highlights, but maybe that Salas Orbelin kind of duo in the middle wasn't exactly working as good as they said it would be, but maybe they need that. Who is it? That Portuguese player, Stefan Eustáquio. Is that the guy?
Eustáquio. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Apparently he arrives tomorrow morning. So
that could be a potential solution right there. But I think that's one of the things that stood out to me the most is just Cruz Azul just trying to move on without Marcone.
Cruz Azul, obviously, I mean, that's where the storylines came out. Chivas fans and everyone would have thought that, Cruz Azul and Chivas were kind of be trading on what happened from last season. But even looking at that game, looking at the team, no Marcone and the Chivas fan, I mean, the Cruz Azul fans crying. Elias Hernandez not doing so well on the left. Piojo Alvarado not doing as great as people thought. Cruz Azul not necessarily. They need that killer. They need that. I think that's what's missing. Also, that as much as I hated Boselli to leave, I mean, a Boselli type of player in Cruz Azul is what they needed. But also seeing what Caixinha was saying in the press conference, it's the start of the season. People are making a big deal about it. He's blaming everybody, not but himself. But at the same time, it's kind of like Cruz Azul saying, give it some time, we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worrying for Cruz Azul because I think Cardoso, for the first time, we saw his hand, his managerial kind of idea in a successful outcome for Chivas, because I think they played exactly the kind of game that Cruz Azul don't have an answer to. Cruz Azul had 60% of the possession. The problem with Cruz Azul is when they've got the ball, they're not that good with it. But what Cruz Azul want is basically not to have the ball, to win it back as high up as possible, and to on the transition hit the opposition when they're not in blocks, when they're not kind of set. And I think that, Chivas didn't play into their hands. Chivas just basically kept it as compact as they could and said to Cruz Azul, okay, you're at home, you're the finalist, you spent all the money, come and break us down then. And Chivas, I thought they were very disciplined tactically, and eventually they got the goal with Ronaldo Cisneros. So for me, that was kind of a template of how to beat Cruz Azul. And I think Caixinha moving forward, because they spent this money, because now it's no surprise that Cruz Azul are a good team, then I think more teams are going to kind of sit back against them. On the other side, I think it's Tigres, at the weekend. I mean, I don't think Tigres are going to do that. So I think Cruz Azul could do well against Tigres. But, it's going to be interesting moving forward to see if Caixinha can find a solution to teams that do sit back, because I think we're going to see increasingly more teams do that against Cruz Azul. But yeah, for Chivas as well, what a boost. I mean, 2 wins, exactly what Cardoso needed. He came into the season kind of a sitting duck manager. I don't think many people, I didn't think he would last that long. I thought maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks and he'd be out. But all of a sudden now, it looks like the players are playing for him. They look like a solid team.
It's Chivas. When you least expect it, Chivas starts doing well. And when you want this team to do well, even though I'm not a fan, it's just it's miserable. And I look at all the Chivas fans.
They're facing relegation.
And that's what I'm thinking. I feel for you Chivas fans. It's even more than Cruz Azul fans. Like, Chivas fans really do go through, because at least it gives you the highs of winning, and then the expectations are just crushed. And the minute you're down, all of a sudden starts giving you a little more hope again.
Thanks, Weasel.
Sorry, Adriana. I'm going to see you again. You should be happy, right? But kind of like, where were you last year? Or, it kind of gives you that joy of like, what's going to happen?
I was still following the MLS. I was following the MLS drafts and just looking at Almeida when I was like, yeah.
But there's your 2 wins. Are you happy?
Yeah. It's like the Cruz Azul fans. You're cautious after a little bit. It's just too good to be true.
That's what it is. It's too good to be true. But you got
we're gonna have like a cup game, and they're gonna, like, I don't know, like Cafetaleros is gonna beat us or something. It's just that you just can't really tell. But yeah, I think we were all surprised to see not necessarily Cruz Azul not doing as well as we thought they could, because this is a team that actually avoided not playing the first week. They were like, no, we're okay. Unlike America, we can do it. We'll be ready. And suddenly they're not. And Chivas, after all these changes and everyone just saying, hey, maybe, these were really good players, really good new players for Chivas, considering all the circumstances, considering their economic situation and everything. But still, I think Cruz Azul, even Caixinha said it, they're just playing differently as well, because he said, we were used to having 40 meters in front of us, and now we have 40 meters in the back of us. Teams are taking advantage of that, and we just have to learn to play this whole new style again. I will also add that Jonathan Rodriguez, I think, hasn't been the Jonathan Rodriguez we were all expecting him to be when he joined Cruz Azul. And he doesn't have Julio Furch to play with him. He has Martín Cauterucho, who hasn't been the most constant player in the offense for Cruz Azul as well.
And I think that's where, when we're looking at the headlines on it, it's the Cruz Azul loss, the Chivas win. Out there, even with Lobos Buap in the headline, in the standings that are going on, it's like, what's happening with Liga MX? But at the same time, it's still there.
It's week 2. We're potentially gonna see some significant changes down the line. So we have to talk about these things because it's the Mexican soccer show. It's the Monday after the weekend, so we're gonna have to bring these things up. But yeah, no, it's week 2. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens down the line with Chivas, whether they can maintain this momentum, whether someone like a Lobos Buap can continue. Although, as long as Ramos, if Ramos continues to score, he was doing an excellent job last season with his. He came in September, and if he can continue finding the back of that, who knows what's going to happen right there.
I'll bet anybody that Lobos Buap don't make the playoffs.
Oh, I'm not going to say they're going to make the playoffs. I'm just saying that they're not going to be at the bottom.
Come on,
they're so optimistic.
Come on,
I want to see this.
Back the Buap. Back the Buap. Hashtag back the Buap.
Or even someone like the Luca. I don't know. I never. I don't know. I feel like I never really have that much faith in the Luca. That win against Morelia. Morelia's defense was awful, and then the recent one against Puebla. I don't know what to really make of that win against Puebla. Should you really be giving them a massive amount of credit there? So I'm still not entirely sure by Toluca either. But shout out to them for getting that 2-0 win on Sunday though.
They've just signed Mancuello, no? I think that's going to be big money from Brazil, and I think with Gigliotti coming in as well. I don't know.
Yeah,
two big signings there. True. But obviously, coming in now after 2 weeks, do you disrupt it? You know what I mean? Obviously they've done really well these first 2 weeks, bringing a couple of big name players in now. It's big for Cristante to how much he can integrate those players. But yeah, I quite like Toluca, to be honest. I think on the other end, I think Cesar more, but Tijuana, I thought,
I was about to say,
struggling. Querétaro as well. It sounds almost obvious.
I was about to say, Liga MX is so crazy and everyone's switching, but Xolos is always going to be Xolos right now.
That was
Didn't the light go off at the stadium as well?
Yeah, the light went off. There was about a 13 to 16 minute delay.
That's not the big news coming out. The new social media manager.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Piojo's
daughter.
I walked past her. She was in the press conference.
You get her autograph.
No.
She used to follow me on Twitter, and then she stopped.
Next time, get a selfie. Get a selfie, says. Next time.
I do that, Tom.
I don't like her anymore. She stopped following me on Twitter. She followed me when Piojo was there, and then all of a sudden, out of her whatever fan, she's like, you know what? I'm not gonna follow you anymore, Wiso.
I don't like you anymore.
In Phoenix, she told me a bunch of stuff about her dad.
We'll see how that goes. That was kind of a strange kind of signing. She's not a sign. She's not like a starting striker.
It's funny because Tom kind of wrote on our chat is like, Mexico, and then I go, well, it's like, not to get political, but Trump has his kids in major positions. I guess it's everywhere.
Why wouldn't the former coach have his daughter there?
Oh, of course. Fun. All right. Looking at it is already the top of the hour. I have to run off. But storylines that are coming out from Liga MX for next week. What are you guys excited for? Is looking at as far as the game and the schedules that's coming up. Match 3, Monarcas Veracruz, Puebla Santos, Querétaro Monterrey, Club América Pachuca, Tigres Cruz Azul, Pumas Atlas, Guadalajara Toluca, Lobos Buap and Necaxa right off the bat. And then León and Club Tijuana.
To close it off.
Supposedly, you know, I'm gonna keep banging on people that think it's Clásico, but
the rivalry only
rivalry.
recognized by Xolos fans.
Yeah, the rivalry. Perfect way to put it. Tigres and Cruz Azul, and now Guadalajara and Toluca, since they're up in the standings. But I have to say, can Cruz Azul go in and let's see what Tigres does? It's Tuca's time.
I have no idea why there's 4 games on Sunday. By the way, that's just weird. Yeah. I can't remember the last time we had more games on a Sunday than on a Saturday. That's just weird.
I haven't even looked at the schedule. I'll look at the schedule like Friday evening and be like, oh man, I guess I should watch this.
Yeah, I think this game too.
Yeah, I think obviously Cruz Azul going to Tigres. I don't think Tuca has ever beaten a Caixinha team. I think there's been 10 games between them now. So I think that feeds into what I was saying before. I mean, Caixinha, when you come up against a team that dominates possession, then Caixinha knows how to break that down. So that's going to be interesting to see if that happens again. Obviously, Chivas against Toluca. Two of the perfect teams going into it. So one of them is going to lose the record, which gives the chance for Lobos Buap
to beat number one.
Also America Pachuca as well. I think Pachuca, obviously it was a big win last weekend after the thrashing against Monterrey as well. Monterrey, traveling to Querétaro on Saturday, but I thought it kind of brought them down to earth that the way León came back later in that game, because they'd won 5-0, they were winning 2-0 in against León, and I just thought maybe over the long term that'll actually be good for him, because it'll kind of kick up the backside to say, hey, you might have spent a lot of money, you might be really, really good, but these teams are gonna be fighting for you, and you're not that much better than the rest of them. So be on guard.
Be on guard.
Beware the Ides of March. And by the way, Tigres will be missing Celarayan and Aquino, so that might be something to consider as well. They're out due to injury. So
Aquino's still out. Interesting. He was out over the weekends too. Interesting.
All right, guys. Liga MX. Time's gonna run. It's already top of the hour. Thank you so much, Adriana. By the way, we should all just do the whole iPhone. Are you using your phone? Because
I am. My computer failed. My iPad doesn't want to work. So yeah, this is my.
I can hold my laptop up like an iPhone.
No, I can't. I got an iMac and I can't hold it. But one day one day we should do a Mexican soccer show all on our phones, and let's say like everybody.
It's getting tiring. Look, there's my hand.
in random places all over the world. We'll do that. Special Mexican Soccer Show. Shout out to Miss Amy Lopez, who's always tweeting, and our producer of the show. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Amy.
And everything that you do. And we'll continue here on the Mexican Soccer Show. Please follow us. We were, kind of hyping up our iTunes there for all of you guys on the iTunes, and all the great comments and all the ratings that we have. Thank you. Cesar's going to use those for his resume, as he said.
Mm-hmm. Already did. Yep.
When he prices up his resume. So thank you all, especially to those that listen to us on Tuesday, Wednesday in your car. But thank you. We'll talk to you guys on next Monday and another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. Hasta la próxima.